did you do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back, everyone. Today is an update on what's been happening on the PTS. Of course, you've seen already the Cheesy Stalk video where I basically demonstrate how to cheese the crap out of a dummy with one of the new sets and see its potential, but we obviously didn't see the negative sides of it. So then I made another video demonstrating using this particular set, the Thrassian Stranglers, which I'm going to go over in a moment, in content. So we used it in dungeons, especially up against fire stuff, because we were taking extra damage as a vampire and all that good stuff. And that was a fairly successful test. Then they changed the set again this Monday, so it's now even more dangerous, and we wanted to see how it would perform. So what we did is we stuck 8 of these together, all exactly the same, with 2 tanks and 2 healers. Now, all of the different players all have their own individual experiences and skill levels, so some are very advanced, some are in the middle, and some haven't really used it that much. So we've got a good balance across the board to see how dangerous this actually is. So some of the more experienced players are less likely to die, and some of the lesser experienced players are likely to get wrecked really, really quickly. Or perhaps maybe not. But we don't obviously have all the different possibilities of combinations and certain buffs and debuffs and all the rest of it. It's not a DPS demonstration as such. It's more of a survival demonstration to see how bad it actually is. Now what we're looking at here is, as a stage 3 vampire, which we are obviously utilizing, we do take 15% more damage from fire. That's quite important. And of course our ability cost is 15% more. So that's quite painful as well. Now Thrassian Stranglers, which you may already be aware of, as you can see here, will give you 20 stacks, so per enemy that you kill, of 150 spell damage. So you end up with 3k spell damage on top of what you already have. And your healing taken, your damage taken, and your damage shields are all affected. So if you stack 20 of these and you have 3k spell damage, you now take 40% more damage. Your healing received is 40% less. And your damage shield effectiveness is 40% less as well. So our survival is wrecked. Now, what we did is we made our tanks really chunky, so big damage shields to help us. Even though they're nuked for us, still, it's a benefit. We put lots of major maim, major protection, and lots of shiny buffs and bonuses as far as survival is concerned together, to see how this would actually work out and see how much of a negative it is. Remember, this demonstration is about survival, nothing else. The DPS side of it obviously would be a lot higher if you started putting in all the shinies, crushers and alkosh and blah 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 and all that good stuff. This is just a survival test. And we go up against some very hard-hitting fire damage at Execute in Thrassian Archive, which of course most groups do still struggle with today. You will see people get wrecked from that and cry about being a vampire and all the rest of it. Some of us are taking 40% extra damage. Now the trick to getting these stacks is you must get the kills, so that's actually quite helpful. Now, another skill we're actually taking advantage of is this as well, Sated Fury. This is from the Vampire skill line. Now, this gives you 660 spell damage and weapon damage, but while it's toggled, it actually drains resources, so it costs per second. The resource that you use, however, is your health. It's not magic, it's not stamina, you use your health. Now, this won't kill you, because obviously when it gets to lower than 1,263 health, you can't actually have enough resources to use it. So it'll just turn off. But you can activate it on or off whenever you like, and you can do that inside global cooldowns as well. So that's actually quite helpful. Now, when it does toggle off, all of the damage that you've taken via draining this resource will actually consider towards a heal. So when you toggle it off, you heal for 33% of the total health cost. So if we end up, say for example, doing 100,000 damage to ourselves, we'll get 33k heal out of it. It's quite helpful. Also, we're using Crit Surge to counter that. Remember, this 3300, although it can crit and can go very, very high with healing received, our Crit Surge is now nuked by 40% as well because of healing received. So all these things do balance out together, but we are going to suffer quite hard. Now, this particular ability, I tell the group to turn on and off during certain situations so that we can take advantage of the heals that are around, because you can't be healed by somebody else while this is on. So what we do is basically while we're in content, we're using this, we're doing loads of damage. If it's a big, big, dangerous situation and we need the heals from the healers, I tell everyone to turn it off. Simple as that. Then when it's safe, tell them to turn it back on again. So all the healers, we're putting down heals for us. Most of the time we can't take them because of overheal and because we've got this on. But when we need it, we take this off, they're already there. It worked out really, really well. Anyway, I'm going to show you a quick demonstration here of how that went. So basically what we did is stuff like this where we're going into fire. Obviously we're going to take more damage as a vampire, so you don't have your Sated Fury ability active right now. Go through all the ads and then turn it back on again. So this is where you kind of have your nuke fest, and basically you want to get as many kills as you can. So it's a bit of a mini game for the DPS where people are trying to compete against each other to get the actual kills, because then they will individually stack up these points for your Thrassian Stranglers. If you look at the bottom left hand side, you can see on the buff timers you've got my pet, and then you've got one that looks like Zamaja with a number in the middle, or a number on the bottom right hand corner of it actually. That is the amount of stacks that you have. You want to get up to 20. So this encourages you to actually kill the ads. The more ad kills you get, the better. And of course, if you die, you lose them. And of course, if you end up crouching, you lose them. And as you can see here, this particular phase here where most people normally crouch, do not crouch. Don't avoid the enemies, don't hide from them, because if you crouch you'll lose your stacks, like I just said, and if you don't kill them you won't build stacks. So this is again a little bit of a competition between you and the other DPSs, where it actually benefits you to just kill everything, rather than trying to be a little cheesy and skip some of the stuff. It helps a lot. Now again, when you go to any pad phase, you don't want to hide, because there's lots and lots of ads to take advantage of. These can be, for most, considered a boring phase. Oh, we're just going to kill these ads and that's over. Well, yeah, technically it is, but again, the more you kill, the more stacks you get. So it becomes, again, a competition between you and the other players. Now, the far left-hand side doesn't have many ads in Thrassian Archive, but the middle and the right side does have quite a few. So once we get rid of all these, what we then do is we get a little bit on the cheesy side, and we just take advantage of the never-ending spawns in the middle. Now, until both sides are completed, the middle will constantly gain ads. So what we do is we basically go and jump down and start joining the other team and try and rack up some points. What we did find is if we could track how many stacks people had, so people were just keeping an eye on how many they had each and reporting back to the group leader or whatever, we could then deliberately force some people to stop hitting some of these while we're waiting for the other side to finish, so they could get their stacks on top of what everyone else already has. So if someone's already got 20, stop hitting and let somebody else do all the killing. Now, obviously you don't want to do that in the big pulls, but this kind of stuff here, you've got unlimited resources. You can basically just kill these forever until the episode's finished anyway. So this helps a lot, especially when you're coming up to the next boss, because you do want to have all this extra spell damage and burst and all the rest of it, but of course remember, there are negative effects. Now, once you've killed everything and you go onto the boss, this is when things get a little bit nuts, because you can then really show all that potential. But again, remember, you must not die, because if you do die, you will lose all your stacks. 20 stacks, 3k spell damage. Dead, no spell damage. This fight particularly, we actually timed when we turn on and off our vampire ability, because of course we want to take advantage of this extra spell damage, but we also didn't want to get nuked. So if we had big AoEs under our feet, or we were going to have the big boom come from Valerial once all the ads die, we turned it off, because it was for safety, so we could then take the heals off the healer rather than being less than 100% health. This actually worked out really well. At the moment you can see I've got a decent amount of stacks, not quite at 20 yet, but I've got a lot, and I'm still not taking any more extra damage than I usually would, even standing in the AoEs. So it's actually not that much of a negative effect if your group is prepared for it. Like I said before, this is a test to make sure that every single character is exactly the same, so we can gauge between experienced or lesser experienced players to see how bad it is for everyone. There are lots and lots of buffs and debuffs missing, so this is not a damage test. This is a survival test. Now, when it came to the last boss, we did get someone killed to chain lightning, which happens all the time anyway. I unfortunately crouched on the way in, which is a bad habit, and I got rid of my stacks. But as you can see here, lots of fire damage coming in from the execute phase of Thrassian Archive, and we've unfortunately got a mage in the room at the same time. Now, collectively, across the group, there were people that had 2 stacks, there were some that had 11, and there were at least 3 that had 20 at this point in time. And if you look at the health bars, you can see that they're all going down roughly the same. It's not really much difference to what you would normally get in content on the live server. And we don't have loads of stacking CPs into spell resistance. We've just got 64, 64, and 51 on that main resistance champion point tree section. So we stacked for high damage shields, high mitigation, and high heals, and worked out pretty well. So hopefully that helped, hopefully that wasn't too boring, hopefully you now have a better understanding of how to approach this particular set at the moment on PTS, what to expect from it as far as survival is concerned, how dangerous it is versus what we already have at base as a standard character in content. This does have some really high negative effects, but as you can see, we actually counted it quite well with some nice buffs and bonuses to reduction to damage incoming and all that good stuff. Anyway, Thank you very, very much for watching. I hugely appreciate the support. If you are not subscribed on YouTube already, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you want to help support outside the channel, there are some links in the description for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, and of course the website xynodegaming.com, where all the written guides are as well. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.